Canva and academic poster design. Let me just get this up here. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Eileen. I wear a couple of different hats here in the library, but in the context of this workshop, it is my role as the head of marketing in the library. So we use Canva to create quite a lot of our graphics. You can use it obviously for marketing purposes, but for you all here today, it's going to be about communication of your very complex academic concepts in a way that's accessible to everyone. We hope that's the aim. So what we're going through today, we'll start off with graphic design fundamentals. I'm going to talk to you about some design principles, a little bit of color theory, and common mistakes to avoid. Making the common mistakes to avoid slide was painful because it's hideous, so get ready for that. Then we'll talk a little bit about how to communicate with posters versus other types of communication, and then we'll go into the hands-on poster design with Canva. So if you have access to an institutional Canva account already, the pro version, you can log into that. If not, the free version is perfectly fine. Most of the features that we'll go through are available on there as well. So, starting off with design principles, I wanted to start off with a very basic one that everybody's probably familiar with because you've seen this control on Microsoft Word. It's alignment. So you can center align, you can left, right align, you can justify things, and you can use that alignment to have different kind of impacts. Oh, actually, I should have checked. People at home, you can see the slides, yes? I'm assuming yes. Okay, sing out if you can't. So here are some examples of alignment. We have the cover of this book, Sapiens. Everything is center aligned. Very simple, feels very orderly. We like it. It's easy to look at. Then this nice kind of graphic from The Guardian, it utilizes breaking alignment. So we have some right aligned text repeating. You've got the repetition in there. And then where it's broken, it makes you feel a little bit unsettled and it really jumps out. So this is done for artistic purposes. Works really well, but if you're doing just straight communication, you can see the text that's broken up is a little bit harder to read. So it's all about the purpose. Do you want to make an emotional impact or do you want to just communicate the information? You can also, of course, communicate the information by the feeling that you're giving someone. So that kind of broken feeling of that text, that communicates quite a lot without you even being able to read it. So that's something kind of fun that you can keep in mind. Repetition is also a very powerful design tool. So in this cover of The Road Not Taken, we have these repetitions of the little ants. You're okay, come on in. Hi, don't worry. So we have the repetition of these little ants and then the one that breaks the pattern. So the broken pattern there really pulls your eye and communicates quite a lot. And then in this graphic here that talks about religious violence against people, it has really interesting repetition of colors. So you have very different images, but the colors are what kind of ties the whole thing together and lets you know that it's a coherent image. And then contrast. So contrast is a really easy one. You just pick two colors that are quite different. Black and white are the clearest contrast. So you can see in that still from the book cover of The Plague. Sorry, normally I talk about videos, so it's really hard for me to not say clip and still, but that is a book cover. Or in the Brat album cover that people probably saw from being an example of really horrible graphic design, but it stood out because of that high contrast. That approach is nothing new. If you remember these old iPod commercials, they did exactly the same thing. Really high contrast, very eye-catching, just helps you to learn things quickly and you can see everything really well. So if you had, say, gray text on a black background, it might be difficult to read because of the low contrast. So doing something that stands out like that, very useful. Then we've got hierarchy. So this is something that's really important for your academic poster design because visual hierarchy dictates what people's eyes are drawn to first. So you might want to get your most important finding from your research across using that visual hierarchy. And I love this example. You will read this first, and then you'll probably read this immediately afterwards, and you'll most likely read this last. And it's probably true, right? Like everybody kind of did look at it that way. In this is not an Apple ad. I know you can't actually see what the text is there, but you do look at this is not an apple first. And then for me anyway, the next thing that I'm drawn to is the name of the university here, because the text is different, so it pulls your eye a little bit, even though it is smaller. So you can kind of mess around with different sort of ways of drawing people's eyes in different places. Then we have balance. This is, again, a really basic kind of design principle that you can put into practice if you're not feeling too adventurous, or if maybe you have a tight deadline and you can't play around too much. Just having things balanced and then with a center point that can really draw people's eye in. So if I was designing a conference poster that was to look like the 127 hours poster, I might want details on two sides and then my key finding right in the center. But we'll go through some more examples of that. And then the focal point. So there's lots of different ways that you can draw people's eyes to one central focal point. You can do it using value, which is brightness or darkness. Use it with shape, so one shape that stands out from all the rest. Scale, something bigger or smaller. Movement, so things facing different directions. Placement, putting something out of the pattern, like with that little ant in the Road Not Taken book cover. Contrast, having something that just sort of pops out differently. Isolation, that's using the negative space on something, and negative space is so important in graphic design. It's really tough when you have a lot of information that you want to get across and you feel like you need to fill all that space, but you really need to give people's eyes a place to rest. And then color. So we're going to talk quite a lot about color now. Has anyone ever done a color theory before? No arts classes in your past. Okay, that's fine. Color theory will change your life. So this is the color wheel, and you might have seen this before in art classrooms or things like that. And the basic concept of this is that these are all the colors in the light spectrum, and they can be combined to make different, every gradient that the human eye is able to see. And if you want to approach putting together a color scheme for your poster, you have a few options. You could go with something monochromatic. So that's taking one color and then using different values of that color. So here we've got light blue, dark blue, and white. Pretty simple, but looks quite pleasing. You can use analogous colors. So this is based on choosing one color and then colors beside it that match the tones and shades of it. So it's really harmonious, looks quite pretty, and then you could use, say, black or white to make something pop. I had a really hard time finding examples of complementary color schemes, so I got County Mayo, where I live, so I have to include Mayo jersey. And then Iron Brew, that was the only thing I could find that had an orange and blue color scheme. So this is where you pick two colors on opposite sides of the color wheel, and each one will make the other pop. It can look really intense, so you might want to use this kind of contrast sparingly just for something that you really, really want to grab attention. Split complementary is one of my favorite color combinations. So this is where instead of going directly across the color wheel to pick your color, you go on either side of the opposite color. And it just looks a little bit more gentle, but still has that same kind of impact. And it gives you a few more color options as well. And then triadic, this is one that you will see probably most frequently in product branding. And this is just, you make a little triangle with that color wheel, so you get three colors that are fairly harmonious, all work together. So Duolingo is a really good example of this. And you can see, like in that owl clip there, you've got your green, your yellow, your purple. It is a perfect triad there. Now, does everyone have feelings about the University of Galway branding? Maybe, some of us more than others. So the University of Galway branding is fairly monotone, but then they do this kind of pop with the bright pink, which I actually quite like. People say that it's really restrictive, but to be honest, it's not too bad because you do have this entire secondary color palette that you can work with. It can feel overwhelming though, because it's just a lot of colors. It doesn't quite fit into any of those color wheel designs that we talked about. But this is where thinking about the color wheel can help you. Because if you see all of these, if you're sticking with the university branding, you have to use the maroon. But then you could use maybe the orange. Actually, I'll just go back to the color wheel here for a sec. So then you could potentially like pull out, say, an orange, a blue, and a yellow, and you could have that nice triadic color scheme as well, or something like that. So it'll help you just make those little decisions about what colors to use in your designs. And it can help things from feeling, you know, a little bit chaotic, as they potentially can if you have too many colors going on. Also, just this is the font system that goes with the university branding. Sometimes the fewer decisions we have to make ourselves in design, the easier our lives can be. So if you want to just go with the university fonts, that is totally valid. The top one is called Spectral and the lower one is called Inter. You can download these fonts from the University of Galway marketing site. And if you can't get those fonts, it is okay to use Times New Roman and Arial. Everyone has access to those. If you want to put together your own color scheme, you can do so with this tool that I love called coolors.com, Coolors. It's pretty cool. You open it up, you hit the space bar, and it will auto-generate different color palettes for you. And then you can lock one of them, hit the space bar again, and it'll generate colors based around that. So you can kind of gradually build up palettes based on things that appeal to you. It'll also let you do things like accessibility tests, so you can see for people with different types of color blindness how this might look to them. So really, really useful, useful tool, and free, which is always a plus. So this is the mistakes to avoid slide that I warned you about because it hurt to make. So I added a cat to make it less awful. So I mentioned white space. Very important to leave white space in your images, in your text, so that people can just process that information a little bit more easily. Don't use too many colors. You can see how painful that one up there is to read. It looks kind of 90s. I don't know, maybe some people are a bit nostalgic. I mean, I kind of like I would wear a t-shirt like that. I don't know if I'd want it on my poster. I mentioned the contrast as well. So you can see that one there that has the black on purple, nearly impossible to read. Whereas the white on green is a little bit easier. I have heard that it's actually better to do dark text on a light background. That just makes it that little bit kind of easier on your eyes. And then that one at the bottom that has too many fonts, I recommend using 2 fonts or 3 at an absolute maximum. If you use too many, it just makes your posters feel very busy. So that is it for the design section. I went through quite a lot, so can I have any questions that you might have on that? Yeah.
Sorry, I was late.
No, you're perfect.
No, I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned the Coolors website to pick the colors. So can you choose as many colors as you want to create like something that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it'll kind of automatically give you 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,
okay.
5. Yeah, but what you could do is just, you know, save that color palette and then generate another one. Mm-hmm.
Last question online.
Yeah.
What is analogous again?
Oh, I'm going to have to check my slide because I always get it wrong. I'm pretty sure it's, you know what, before I guess, I'll just go to it. Yeah, so analogous is where you have your color and then the 2 ones beside it on the color wheel. So it's those colors that are similar, that they all work really close together.
And another question from chat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any textbooks that you could recommend on how to analyze colors used and what they convey?
Ooh, I can't recommend a textbook because I went to paint school when I was a child, so I just kind of learned this. But in terms of what they convey, you do tend to hear red is for warning, danger, also energy. Blue tends to be for kind of calmness, but it could also be sort of like knowledge. Green tends to be for growth. Cool colors in general tend to be sadness. And when I say cool, I mean anything that's on the left-hand side of the color wheel there. So that's your purples, your blues. So either sadness or calm. And then the other side tends to be energy, but it can also be anger. So it can be kind of tough to pick out what you want. Your first association is probably the right one. I found that light blue says social media to people because so many of the early social media icons were blue. So think Facebook, Twitter, Instagram went a bit rainbowy. Green tends to be environmental. Yellow, at least in Ireland, was COVID because all of our COVID stuff was branded yellow. which is so funny because other countries did a very poor job of branding the pandemic. Ireland did a great job. Yeah, so I can't recommend a specific textbook, but there's loads of theory around that. So honestly, if you give it a quick Google, I'm sure you'll find infinite amounts of information. Sorry, that did not answer the question.
No, I think you gave an insight into it. And there are also a couple of questions on access. So if someone from your college has access, does it mean that it is available to everyone? And if there is no one on the list in a school, can you still get access to Chrome somehow?
Okay, so you can get access to, if your school doesn't have an account currently, you can contact the central marketing department. They deal with all the licensing, and then you pay for a seat on the license. I can't remember how much it costs, but it's not wildly expensive. We have one license for the library, and we use that for all of the library staff. So if you get one seat for your college, then that covers everybody.
I hope it answers the question.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Sorry, online folks, it's very tough when I can't see you. I don't know why.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Really quick. So the codes on the collars, are those universal?
Yeah, good question. So I'll get this up here. So the codes on the colors, what you see there, those are called hex codes. And yes, those are universal. They're the digital ones. So if you go into Canva, you paste in that hex code, it's going to pull up exactly the same color. There are some kind of complicated things that go on if you're looking at digital colors versus print colors. But for the sake of this, yes. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about communicating things through posters. So there is a big challenge that anyone who is a researcher or an academic has, which is called the curse of knowledge. And that is that when you know a topic extremely well, it's hard to imagine what it's like not to know anything about it. And people tend to assume that other folks understand their topic better than they actually do. So even if you're at a conference of experts in your field, they are not an expert in your particular research. So you really have to simplify things, especially because folks are just going to be walking past your poster, seeing it for a few seconds and trying to understand it in that amount of time. So you just want to make sure that it makes sense to other people. It can be a good idea to find a friend or someone outside your field, show it to them and say, does this make sense? Because quite often you'll get something like this cartoon where they just go, yeah, no, not in the least. So that can be a challenge. Then in terms of communicating on posters as well, we have this: perfection is achieved not when there is nothing to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. So your central point that you're trying to communicate has to be as simple as it possibly can, totally jargon-free. Not easy to do when you know it super well. This is a communication style from journalism called the inverted pyramid. And the idea here is that you put your absolute most important information first. So this could be, say, your headline, what you actually found, then you go into your details, and then you go into the background information. And here's a version from research about how scientists communicate, which suggests that the inverted pyramid is inverted because it's the opposite of what scientists tend to do. They tend to communicate the background information first, then the supporting details, and then the results and conclusions. So that's exactly how an academic paper is set up, right? But a poster needs to be flipped. A poster needs to do basically the opposite. Communicate the bottom line first, then the reason you did the research, and then those supporting details for anyone who might be interested in taking a little bit more time. Now I'm going to play a clip. So there is a researcher called Mike Morrison who has something called Better Poster, and it's his whole theory about how we can improve our scientific poster communication. I'm just going to play this clip, which hopefully starts at the right point. And it is a series of posters shown at walking speed, so you can see how much you would be able to take in while walking past a poster.
Every year at hotels all over the world, scientists from every field in science.
Let's see if I can find the right part now. No, it'll probably play an ad. It did play an ad. Sorry, guys. No, so I won't bother playing that clip, but I will send you the video so you can check it out later. He's done a few of these. They're really, really interesting. And the posters that he recommends you do look like this, which is probably extremely different from any academic poster that you've seen, because typically they have loads and loads of information, loads of graphs, all crammed in. You have to get right up close before you can see anything. But on this one, we have main finding right at the top, plain English, easy to see, and then some supporting details underneath. He also recommends putting a QR code in, and that can either link to your full paper, it can link to your contact information, or it could even link to a downloaded version of the poster itself. So I'm going to show you how to do that in Canva. Now, any questions on any of that before we go into the Canva section? Okay, all right, great. So if everyone could get logged into Canva on whatever device you have, you can actually use it on a phone as well, although I find that really tough. iPad, it is an option. So once you're logged in, you should see something that looks more or less like this. And what we're going to do is click Create Design in the top corner. And then you're going to select Custom Size. You'll probably, depending on what's going on in your account or what account you're using, you might see different things that have been created by your colleagues or maybe that you've created in the past. So we're just going to ignore that. And we're going to set up a poster size for an A0 poster. You can decide yourself if you want it to be portrait or landscape. I've gone with portrait for this session. So you want 841 by 1,189 millimeters. A0 is big. I'm just going to take a peek, make sure that's working for everybody. Cool. If anything isn't working, guys, just sing out, because if it's not working for you, it's probably not working for multiple people. Now, you should see something more or less like this. And so up there, the first thing, the top left, you've got your templates and styles, including your color palettes. That's your design area. Then you have shapes and graphics. That's under elements. You have your text area, very important. You then have brand and other templates and logos. That's only a pro option though, so you mightn't have that option if you don't have the pro account. Next, images that you or your colleagues have uploaded. That's also where you go to upload images. Then at the bottom, you'll see here, you can just drag this to zoom in on your image. That's going to be so useful when we're working on such a big canvas, because when it's small, it looks itty bitty. So you'll need to zoom in all the time. And then 7, right in the center, we have our canvas or our workspace.
There is a question.
Yes.
How do you select portrait?
Oh, sorry. So that's going to be just based on the way that you enter your dimensions. So the dimensions here, it's 841 by 1189. If you were to invert that to 1189 by 841, then you would get landscape. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one thing that I quite like to do is to add guides, because when I just have a blank slate in front of me, I find it really overwhelming, and it's just a bit easier to have something to help me keep everything lined up. So if you want to add some guides, you go File, Settings, Add Guides. You'll see there's a few layouts available for you on the top. You can also create a custom layout. In my example, I've done 3 columns. What have I done? 3 columns, 12 rows, and a bit of a gap between them. That's not, necessarily what you have to do. It's just the layout that I kind of liked to have set up. And then you click Add Guides, and you'll see these little lines on your canvas. Those will not appear when you save or print. They're just there to help you in the design process. So next, we'll add a header. To do this, you go into Elements, and you'll see Shapes at the top. You're going to click on the square, and it will end up going onto your canvas. From there, you can click and drag it to change the shape. At the top of the screen, you're going to see some options pop up. So you've got color, you've got outlines. It's actually a text box if you want to put some text straight into it. I prefer adding the text separately, so I'll show you that in the next step, but just play around with that a little bit. Do any color you like. I'm going to go around.
I'm showing a little bit different.
Oh yeah, so what you need to do is just click this here. There you go, now you have all your options.
This one.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Then I just click on it.
Yeah,
This
so-
goes up here.
Yeah, or you can click and drag it in if it's not appearing. Yeah, there you go. Cool. So if anybody's isn't going in when you click, you can click and drag it in. Or if you haven't actually been able to get to this screen, you'll see a box in the left-hand corner that looks like a box with a little arrow popping out of it. You click that and it'll take you to the screen. Okay, and in Elements, there are tons of other shapes as well that you can mess around with. So what we'll do now is we will add a title. So in order to do this, click on text. It'll pop up with different text options. And for this one, we'll go with heading. You can type in the title of your research, change the font, change the color, and click and drag it to get it centered up. It should kind of snap to the center of that heading that you've created. So you can click and drag, yeah, there you go, perfect. Oh yeah, so the color is just here. You want to put like the boxes, but oh sorry, that is the gray box, is it? Yeah, so you can just click and drag it up. Interesting. Is it keeper about it? Just on the box. Oh sorry, I see. Okay, so if you take this and drag it on. And now you can change. Now you can change the color by clicking there. So you have the default colors, or you can also click here and add any color in the rainbow. Yeah. I think that is looking good. Okay, so the next thing that we'll do now is add a subheading. So you could be adding either the name of your conference, your own name, your contact information, anything like that can go here. So in order to do that, you'll add the text again, and then try adding a subheading or body text. And once you've done that, we're going to try adding a text box. So you'll find that this is a little bit different, but where this is handy is when you're putting in a large amount of text, because you won't have to hit enter at the end of every line. It'll actually automatically move to the next line for you. So I'll just do a little roam again. And at the top of the screen, when you have your text selected, that's where you can change your font and your colors and all those things.
How about the size of the font?
So that's just here.
For this one, for the video, what is the?
Oh, I have that on another slide. I can't
Okay.
remember it, but yeah.
Ellie, is there a way to turn your canvas? Because Jonathan Online says you selected landscape by mistake and wants to
Ooh.
turn that, or what would be the best way to?
Let me see. I think I can't remember if it's a pro option or a regular option. I'll just get Canva opened and I can see. Let's see if I can. Oh, where is my mouse? So if I'm in Canva, now if hopefully you guys can see that. Actually, I'll do it on my screen first because I can't quite see it up there. So bear with me. And now, where is it? There is, oh yeah, it's a pro feature to resize it. Okay, so
you have to create a new canvas.
yes. So if you have pro, sorry, this is very small here. You'll see this little resize button up at the top, and you can use that to resize what you've created. Otherwise, you need to create a new canvas, but you can copy and paste things from one canvas to another. So you don't have to totally restart, but you do have to open a new file.
Would it be okay if someone created a landscape canvas for today? Can they
Oh, yeah.
keep working with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Work with whatever you want. I've just done portrait because I find it easier to lay things out, but a lot of conference posters will be landscape, so that's fine. Saren just wanted me to repeat that. I can see that because I'm not sharing my PowerPoint. So is this to resize the canvas, Saren? So if you have the pro version, you'll see in the top left, I have it on the screen there, there's a little button that you can click to resize your design. But if you don't have the pro version, you'll need to create a new version with the dimensions that you want. But the nice thing is you can copy and paste all of the elements from your design from one canvas to another. So you won't have to totally start from beginning.
So sorry, I'm just looking at the landscape. I never got to add any document or anything to it because I lost all those steps. I'm a little bit behind you.
Oh, sure. No worries at all. I'll get this back up. Now, the only reason I'm doing it this way with the PowerPoint is because I can't see my own screen that well when I'm sharing it, unfortunately. So once you've got your canvas set up, you go into elements and shapes, and then you'll be able to drag a rectangle onto your canvas. And you can resize it by clicking and dragging the edges and change the color with the bar that appears at the top when you have it selected. Then you've got the text that you can add. On the sidebar as well, you'll see a text option. And once you have that in, you can use the text option again to add a little bit of subtext. And I do have a slide coming up with the ideal font sizes for all of these things. It's very hard to imagine what it's actually going to look like when it's A0 printed out.
Is it back to line one is usual conference poster size?
I think they're usually A0, yeah.
A0 portrait is what the most conference stands provide.
Yeah. Landscape is sort of more common for an online presentation if you're having a digital poster exhibition, but in the post-COVID world, I don't think they really do that too often. It was sort of more of necessity at the time. Now, the next thing I want you to do is try uploading an image. So for those of you on the PCs here, it might, oh, sorry, did somebody have a question? Oh, okay. So for those of you on the PCs, this might be a little bit tough because you'll have to go online first and save an image somewhere to the PCs. But for those of you on your own devices, what you can do is the pro people, you'll have access to the university's branding. So on the side, you can click on brand and you'll see a whole suite of university logos available for you. For anyone who doesn't have pro, you can click on upload on the side and select the logo, or for the sake of the practice, just whatever image you want to bring in. Just go for a walk around. Good choice with the blue. Would you just let me know what the university cover? Oh yes. So
I tried to find that. Yes, I don't have it memorized. I used to have it memorized, which is probably sad. But one of the things that Oksana is going to put online later is the University of Galway brand book that has all of that information in it. Yeah, I actually sent it to the chat in the online meeting. Oh, yeah. If you're not there, I will send it in the follow-up email as well.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. Now, I always recommend, if possible, finding a version of the logo that has a transparent background, just because if you have it and it's kind of just sort of integrated a bit more into your poster, it looks that tiny bit more like you went out and got a professional designer to do it for you, which is what we always want to make it look like. Okay. So what I like to do, and this isn't necessarily something that you have to do, is I like to sort of put in blocks to help myself organize where my sections of my poster are going to be. So if you want, you can try to replicate the style that I've set up there. You absolutely don't have to, but I think it can be kind of useful to just put in a few shapes where your introduction, your methods, your findings might be, all that kind of stuff. And then you can see in my example here, I've added a circle where I'm just going to have my kind of key point that's going to stand out. As a little tip, you'll find that things will layer by the order you bring them in, and that might not necessarily be what you want. So you can right-click on them and then select to move them forward or back. Or when you left-click on them, you'll see an option for position that pops up, and then you can move them forward or back. That can be a little confusing, so I'll give you guys a bit of time to get that one.
You just added in the shape?
Yeah, it's like all of those things are just more shapes that I've added.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take the background of this one later because it looks bad with the white. Yours is the Pro, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so
I've got more shapes than you,
okay.
which I didn't actually realize that those shapes were a Pro feature, because normally it puts like a little icon beside all the Pro things.
Okay.
That's kind of funny.
It's weird that it's not showing an option, right?
Yeah.
So like if
I mean, all you really need is squares, to be honest.
yeah. So you were saying that like you're putting this in a position where it's going to receive more attention.
Sorry, I know why you don't have more. It's because you have a square. So if you close
Oh my
that
god. Okay.
and just go see all the side shapes, there you go.
Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Just delete this.
Yeah, good. I was very concerned for a second.
Is it your eye that you use to, if you want to the same size? Is it kind of messing that does it?
A little bit, but if you click and drag on the corner of one of them, so like select it and then drag a little bit, you'll see it tells you the
line.
size. Yeah,
Yes.
so it'll
Oh,
snap the
it says
size,
it
but it
there.
also
Oh,
tells
yeah.
you the width and height
Oh, I see it
in
there, yeah.
pixels.
That's kind of what
Mhm.
I meant. So you can, if you have a good memory, you
Yeah.
can know. That
You can also
want
copy and paste them if you want them to be exactly the same.
Okay, oh, that's good to know. So I can just copy this one and get rid of this one.
Okay, everybody's doing great. Is there an option to automatically align them?
There is. I am glad you asked. So I won't get up on screen. I'll talk through this. So if you want to automatically align things, hold down Shift and click on both of them. And then, now can I do this from memory? Let's see. I'm going to look at somebody else's. I can't do it from memory. So, Rysel, you're going to be my guinea pig. So hold down Shift, click on your two shapes. Okay, yes, and then in the top right, you'll see an option for position. Here. And now on the left, you'll have options for align elements. And you can use those to center them or make them match on the tops or on the right-hand sides or whatever you want. Good question, Oksana.
I have another one that
Yeah.
may have asked later, but do you have any recommendations for websites or, I don't know, libraries of icons that we can use?
That's a great question. Not really. Like, Canva does have quite a few in them, and some of them are available on free. So if you search under elements for the icon that you need, you should be able to see a few good free ones. Otherwise, what I like to do is just use Google, but I do the advanced search settings. So it searches for things that are, Creative Commons licensed, so you can actually use them. Other than that, you can make your own if you're feeling very ambitious, which we're actually going to do later today. So get ready.
Thank you.
So I just have a couple of bits that I've highlighted here about changing the fills, changing colors, fonts, and borders, all those kinds of things that you can do with your different shapes. Also, if the guides are getting on your nerves, you can turn them off at any point by going to File, Settings, Show Rulers and Guides. Because once I've got a few things on my canvas, they start to get in my way, personally. Okay, and here is the font sizes that folks were asking for. So this is a recommendation from UC Davis in terms of the font sizes that they recommend for everything to be legible. They also have these really handy ones on the bottom that show you how far away people can be for different fonts. I don't know if there's going to be too many people viewing from 14 feet away. 72 is a very large font, but if you really want to grab somebody, you can do it. Okay, so you might now have something like this. You can see I've uploaded some random figures, I've put some dummy text in, and that could be a perfectly acceptable conference poster. It's probably got everything you need in it. But it doesn't really adhere to those principles that we talked about in terms of, say, having flow or having a key point that jumps out at someone or something that will really grab attention. So what we're going to do is create another page in this same work area. And in order to do that, you look at the bottom of your screen and you should see this little plus symbol. And that's going to allow you to make a new page the same exact size. You also notice I've just put like Latin text in there. That's called lorem ipsum. It's something that people use quite frequently just as filler text. You can just Google lorem ipsum generator and copy and paste it in there. Okay, so this is the poster that I created in preparation for this. I have no idea what this research is about. This is a woman with a 3D printed cube, and then there's some stuff about social media at the top, so who knows what's going on here. But obviously, it's very profound research. So I've included a few elements. For example, I have my most important thing in the center. I've put that in a different font, so it'll kind of grab you. I've used a fairly limited color palette, so I've gone with cool colors, and then I've just used that one little orange warm color, so that'd be a triadic color, so the orange pops a little bit. So I've used that little bit of orange just to highlight my graph and to highlight my chart down there. And then I've put my citations at the bottom in this little tiny font because you don't necessarily need to be able to see that from 14 feet away. That's for people who are really engaging with your poster. I've also added a QR code in the top corner, and that QR code links to the poster so people can download it if they want to. So yeah, clear flow of design, balanced design, consistent color palette, and the key point is easy to see. There are also some flaws in this. It's probably a little bit too texty. I think I could have maybe gotten that key point a little bit bigger, but it's okay for a demo.
And did you use shapes to get that 1, 2, and 3 in the headings?
So that's what we'll do now. Yep.
I'm ready to let's go.
Will I be able to watch it back?
Yeah, it's recorded. So what we're going to do is create each of these elements. So we're going to start off with making our little introduction header. So this is a circle, a rounded rectangle, and text. And you want to combine all of these things. So give that a shot, and I'll go around and help you guys out with it. Another page, you just click on this. Yeah, and then you can click on the plus.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't have to, you can keep working there.
I was still trying to just put the shapes of the texts.
Oh yeah, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, that's okay.
Okay. Right, because we're gonna be creating the okay, the titles now.
Oh, that's a gradient. Very nice. Oh yeah, so first, so that's, you can move them all around as one item. And if you want, you can add an outline to them using these things here. So this is how you'll select how thick the outline is.
Right, I do have to group them first.
No, you can group them after.
Okay.
Yeah, so you want to get your design the way you want, and then.
Okay. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Nice.
These ones actually. So I'm glad you said that.
And then the other thing that might be useful is changing the layer of them. So like if you want that circle to be in the front, you can click on it and then go to layer, and then bring forward or bring to front.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, everybody is doing super there. Okay, so this grouping option that I've added here, the benefit of that is that if you need to click and drag things around, they won't all come apart into different elements. You can move them as one item. So if you want to copy and paste this a bunch of times for each of your headings, you can, and then you can just double click to get into the individual elements of that group to edit them. Do you want a little bit more time on this one, or will we go to the next part? More time? Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll just do another quick walk around. Yes, so if that's not working with you, great. You can go to the three dots here and then go to position. And let's see, and all yours is slightly different. That's so interesting. I guess what you can do is drag it down to a lower layer. Actually, try arrange. And then two back. And that should be it. It should just pop it behind the other thing. Oh, it hasn't. That's really interesting. Oh, there we go. Layer. In that case, go to the. Oh, I have an idea. Click on the circle, and it's because it doesn't have any fill. So if you fill it in, yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
As a technique.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to try is creating a little part of an infographic. And you can find this if you go into Elements, scroll down to Charts, and click Infographic Charts. I've gone for this one with the little people. You don't have to do that. You can pick any one that you want, and then click Edit, and you can play around with some of those features. This one's a little bit more complicated, so I'll give you a bit more time on it. Exactly. And you can also, if you click on these little plus in here, you can put it in there as well.
Oh, you can also put the color.
Yeah, so you can make things match. I don't think it works outside of Canva, but like if you were to bring in a picture, you could pick a color from a picture in here.
Probably do this.
Oh, yeah, good job. Yeah, totally. You may have noticed if you've gone for the one with people, when you edit it, you can change them. You can do corn or you can do stars. It's kind of fun. Yes, so go into Elements and scroll all the way down. Go. Oh, there you go, charts. Yep. And see all. And you can use any of these if you want, but there's even more options down there. Okay. And then see all again. Yeah, there's our little people. Yeah, so you can obviously, if you have your own charts that you've generated in Excel or Word or anything, you can just take a screen grab and upload them. But generating them within Canva will give you a nice consistent look between all of your graphics and can be a little fun.
there's a question line. I'm not sure how to upload the brand attention.
Oh, yes. So if you don't know how to upload the brand, I'll just go back to that slide so I can show you. You upload the logo the same way you would upload an image. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see that little upload icon, and you just select the brand image from your PC or your Mac, wherever you have it saved, and upload it. And then you'll be able to click it, it'll go onto your canvas, and you can click and drag to move it around.
How can I edit or write inside the chart?
Oh, good question. So what you'll do is click on your chart and go to edit.
Okay.
And then, let's see. Oh, my screen fell asleep. There you go. And there you can enter your data. There we go. And if anyone's finished that up and you just want to kind of play around with Canva a small bit before we go on to the next section, you can try going into all of these options on the side, see what other elements there might be that are interesting to you. You can search for different images and kind of funky things that Canva might have. You can play around with different text options. Okay, now the next thing that we'll do is add a stock image that's already available on Canva. So I generally don't recommend using stock images if you can help it. It's always fair to have your own images that you can upload yourself, but every now and then you might be really stuck and you just need a picture of some kids at a park and you don't have GDPR permission for that or something. So what we'll do is go into Elements and then type in whatever you want to search for and make sure that you have photos selected. There's also graphics if you want to see what kind of icons they have available too. Videos, not really so relevant to us.
Sorry, I think you stopped sharing.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, guys. I think it's because I disconnected there for a second. Apologies for that. And thank you for telling me before I talked to myself for too long. Now, let me get this back. There we go. So for adding an image, you're going to click Elements, make sure you're searching Photos, and type something in to get any kind of stock image. So you'll see that there are quite a few free ones available, and then they let you see the pro ones just to let you know what you're missing, which is a very clever marketing tactic. It will usually let you insert them as well, just to have a watermark on them.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it'll make your poster pop. It also means that people walking by know exactly what it's like, what it's about without having to read it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a pro one, but it's good to have that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the like better poster stuff that researcher has done, he really talks about making them fun and stand out.
Yeah.
He has one example that's about people judging people based on their hairline, and the poster looks like hair. So yeah, you can have fun with it. All right, so once you've got an image in, this is a pro feature, but you can play around with it even if you don't have the pro version. I think it'll let you sample it.
and it is called Background Remover. So click on your image, you'll see some options appear above it. You have things like you can change how transparent it is, you can crop it, you can round the corners of it, you can add a border, and then you can also remove the background. So give any of those a try. And for me, once I removed the background, I wanted to add this circle behind it, just to give it a little bit of presence. So I've added an element exactly the same way we've added all of our other shapes. And then I go to position, I make sure it's sent to the back, and then you can, I'll go back to the side in a second, then you can select your multiple objects, go to position and click center to center align them. So I'll go back one step and make sure you've got this first, and then I'll show you the alignment again.
Given that the background remover is a paid
It is
a
paid.
can you suggest any alternatives to it? Like other tools that are free for removing the background?
I don't know, because I normally use Photoshop, and I know that's paid, so that's not helpful. Yeah. Sometimes if you just Google background remover,
There's a good tool on Word, actually. I know it's not,
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
that
that's great.
you can remove the background on Word. That's usually how I do it, but it's very like,
Basic.
yeah, because it's not made for that, of
Yeah.
course. But
Yeah.
when you add an image to a Word document, you can remove the background on the, or, like there's a pictures edit part. That's usually how I do it.
Great.
Right.
Yeah, hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So one tip that I have in terms of picking images to remove the background from is I tried to pick something that hasn't gone off the screen too much. So you can see with this image, for example, her whole body is within the frame, whereas if she had like an arm sticking out or something, it would just cut it off at a straight line, and then that doesn't look quite as nice. So it's tough to pick an image that will work well for this. So once you have all those elements in, you can select them all, click position and click center. You can use this to align anything, actually. You can align text, you can align shapes. It doesn't work just for images.
How much is the program?
I'm not sure because I use the university one. I feel like it's not crazy. You know, it's less than Netflix, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
Okay, so everybody happy with putting in images, removing backgrounds, playing with them? Okay. Now we are on to our QR code. Almost everything you've probably noticed is added from that panel on the side of the screen. So for this one, we're going to go down to Apps and search for QR code generator. Once you've clicked on QR code, you can add in any URL that you want. So this could be a URL that goes to your LinkedIn, it could go to your paper, it could go to your university's page. But what I'm going to do is put in a URL that actually goes to this exact poster on Canva. So what I'm going to do is go to the top right, click share, and then you'll see public view link. What's really cool about the public view link is it gathers statistics for you. So it will tell you how many people actually went to the link and viewed your poster. Once you've got that link, you can paste it into the box, click generate QR code, and then you've got your QR code.
So people can view it from Canva.
Yeah, it'll load up in Canva. They won't be able to see an editable version. It will just be that on the screen. Yeah, and then they can download it to save.
Are there any restrictions in the free version of the resolution?
I don't think so. Yeah, the resolution should be perfectly fine. It's just you're restricted in terms of what images you can bring in and kind of the functions. But yeah, it should be totally full resolution. Then what you'll probably want to do is click and drag your QR code to put it, in a little corner of your poster or something. It doesn't have to be too big, like 3 inches high is fine. So, on the screen, if you're zoomed out, it'll be like maybe 1 centimeter. And then maybe add a little bit of text below it just to tell people what they'll get if they scan it. That will always make them more likely to scan. So if it's, say, maybe keep in touch or download poster or view full paper, something like that. And that share button is the same way that you'll be able to download a finished version of your poster to send to the printer.
Have your attention, please. Could Martin Maloney please come to the ground floor? Martin Maloney, please.
Okay. So if you click on share, then you'll see the download button. And you'll see a few different options. I typically go for either PDF standard or PDF print. The only difference there is kind of the way it renders and the color scheme that it chooses. What you're going to want to do, now this is a pro option again, but if you're printing it out, CMYK color will be a little bit more faithful to the colors that you chose, whereas RGB, it might just look slightly muted. It'll be fine. You'll still get a nice poster, but it'll just be a little off. Not a big deal for printing. It's a much bigger deal if you bring a CMYK thing online. Sometimes you might see you do this. You bring it in and all of a sudden all of your blues are neon. It just has to do with additive versus subtractive colors that I will not bother getting into now. Okay, so one thing that I want to leave you with is templates. If you have found all of this really annoying and really stressful because you've been trying to set up your own template, you are not alone, and that is fine. There are lots and lots of templates on Canva, and that's actually what Canva is best known for, is having all of these pre-made templates that you can edit. So over on the side where we've been accessing absolutely everything, you will see an option for templates. If you type in something like academic poster or science poster or even communications poster, you've got all of these different options. You click on them and you can edit the text, edit the graphics, edit the colors, and go from there. And also, if you want, you can use the poster that I created as a template. So you can access that from this QR code or this address. It'll give you the poster, but you'll be able to kind of move everything around, change everything. And as long as you click make a copy, it'll create a new template for you in your account rather than editing the original one. So that's everything I have for you. You're all welcome to stay on and keep messing around with Canva, and I can answer any questions that you might have. Feel free to use the poster and let me know if you do. That would be so cool. No pressure. And those of you online, let me just see if I can see you. So thank you for tuning in online. I know it's not very easy to do a workshop remotely, especially when that's so hands-on like this. So thanks for bearing with me. And if you have any questions, I'll see if I can help you out.